August 5th meeting of the Board of Education to order. Ms. Meeker, if you could take the roll.
Pleasure. Ms. Boucher.
Here.
Ms. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Cotton.
Here.
Ms. Hastings.
Here.
Ms. Higgins.
Here.
Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Walsh.
Here.
And I am here. That's 9-0. We have a quorum.
Great. If I could have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins. Is there second by Ms. Boucher? Is there discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Consent agenda has the monthly meeting minutes from July 1st, the work session minutes from July 8th, the special board public forum on July 15th, and the board meeting on July 22nd. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Campbell. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Richards. Any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Well, you can, we haven't talked, in the minutes for the regular monthly meeting, July 1st, we could go down to the bottom of the page, agenda item 10. We have some inaccurate note-taking. So if we could just take out,
What page is this?
this is page 12.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. I did not, in fact, propose removing a gun-free school zones resolution. What I did propose was the Concord School District co-sponsoring the Dresden District's resolution on trans inclusion. So if we could remove that.
I was not here for this meeting, so was there a motion on,
There was a motion on supporting the Dresden District's resolution. There was not a motion on removing a gun-free school zones.
Okay.
I don't know how that
And
got
the
in there
motion
like
is
that.
noted on the next page.
Oh, the motion is noted. Yeah. There you go. Thank you.
And then on the
Yeah, the
second,
gun thing
Okay.
came up
So-
in conversation, but there
so
was
on-
never.
Yeah, it was never to remove
so
it.
you want to delete the second sentence?
Yes, please.
And well, actually, it's not the whole second
And,
sentence. Proposed
Acknowledging,
co-sponsoring
co-sponsoring.
the Dresden District
District's
Schools.
resolution.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that an amendment?
Yes, please.
Is there a second?
second.
Second by Ms. Boucher.
Thank you.
Do you have that? Proposed co-sponsoring the Dresden schools and deleting, removing to acknowledging.
I
Okay.
will say, is that part of the motion for the consent agenda, or do we need to just pull that from the consent agenda, approve the consent agenda, and then amend?
We can approve it with the
those minutes?
amendment.
We can approve it with the
Okay.
amendment.
We just approve it as amended.
Okay.
Two more.
Okay, well, first we have to vote on that motion. Is there any other discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Is there any further
Yeah,
discussion?
these are just minor. On the page 13,
Yep.
for the resolution for gun-free zone, it should be gun-free school zone.
Can you, gun-free school zone, do you see that, Superintendent? On
I'm just looking
top
for
of
it on
page
here.
13.
Page 13.
Yep,
Top of
third
page, third paragraph.
paragraph.
Okay, yeah.
Is there a second?
So moved, or seconded, sorry.
All right, moved by Ms. Boucher, seconded by Ms. Robinson. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Great.
Motion
thank you.
passes. Is there any further
Yeah,
discussion?
the only other thing I noticed was on page 19, towards the second paragraph to the bottom, just Lisa Bodwin's last name is spelled incorrectly.
Catch.
How should that
It
be
should
spelled?
be Beaudoin.
Okay.
D-I-O-N,
Doin.
Is that a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
Moved by Ms.
to-
Boucher. Is there a
Seconded.
second by Ms. Robinson? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Is there any further discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor of the consent agenda as amended?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. First of all, welcome back, man. I hope you've been having a good summer. It's great to see you here. I'm going to let the superintendent go first, but if you have a report to add, let us know.
And he does have a report,
Okay.
and I understand he has an engagement after this meeting, so could we let him go first?
Go for it.
There we go. Good evening, everybody. I feel like it's been a while. I'm going to keep it short today, seeing as we haven't been in school for a little while. And sorry I had to miss last meeting. I was on vacation with my family. And going on at CHS right now, I know lots of rising seniors have been doing college tours and working on their Common App that came out 4 days ago. a lot of work. And the date for homecoming has been set for September 14th, so probably remind you again.
That's early.
I'll probably remind you again next month,
Yeah.
but try and be there. And fall sports are about to be in full swing with preseason practice soon. And I have an update on the rep for class of 26, which is me and Mr. Herbert interviewed about 10 students who all volunteered and wanted to be interviewed for the position. We have not come to a final decision yet, but thank you and have a great August and end of your summers.
Thank you, Van. It's good to see you back.
I love that there's a ton of students interested. It's so much better to have a hard choice than to just accept the one person that wants to do it, so that's great. Yeah.
Superintendent,
Thank you.
Have a good night, then.
thanks, Van.
Say hi to your dad.
So I think
My brother's
it's
best
probably
friend.
pretty obvious that preparations are underway to open school, right? I know.
Stop. It's August.
I know. The calendar turns, and the first thing is, teachers want to get back in the buildings, and you hear all the the kinds of chatter going on about getting in their rooms, and that's just the nature of it. The teachers are always somehow just keyed into that August. I think for the rest of us, we might feel the same way. So we are working really hard to get ready. Our opening is August 28th. I just want everybody to remember, first day of school, August 28th. It's really worked out that we're before Labor Day, although I know a lot of people would prefer after Labor Day, but quite frankly, it gives us that little buffer, and especially when we have some weather that doesn't cooperate in the winter. So that works out great. Lots of planning being done right now. Kim and her team are busy preparing the final agenda for the new teacher orientation, which is, you might want to, they're on your agendas in your book, but just August 21st and August 22nd, both days at Concord High School. We start out at the Main Street upstairs, have coffee and some pastries in the morning, gets a chance to really kind of talk with folks. Then we all go downstairs to the Media Center, and there's a 2-day program working with our new teachers. On the end of the second day, I know that the CEA, the Teachers Association, meets with them. They have like an ice cream social for the teachers, so they can talk union business. But 2 great days, and I really would love if you came. I think the teachers really appreciate seeing you, and we. The president will kick it off with her opening remarks, but also we invite everyone to have any comments. I know last year several of you had comments and shared just kind of the upbeat message around opening and welcoming folks. These are brand new teachers to our district. So it's kind of neat they like that when they see that kind of attention. So if you can make it, that would be great. It starts at,
So it starts at 8 o'clock in the morning with pastries, and then if you would like to be there from 8:30 to whatever, 9, to say hello and do any kind of introductions, that's fine.
And that's on the first day of the.
That's the first day. Yeah, you don't need to come for the whole time. It's gonna be business meeting from there on in.
Okay.
I also want to bring your attention to another really important night that the district is quite proud to be a part of, and that's the back-to-school night at Keach Park. Fabulous night, well attended by our families, hundreds and hundreds of families. And it starts at 5:30 on August 20th. We do have a rain date for the 22nd, but keep your fingers crossed. We hope we can pull it off on the 20th. This is a wonderful opportunity for families to register their youngsters, to learn about our food service program, breakfast and lunch, and what's available, and how you get meals and all that. There'll be folks there that will actually be there to help fill out applications and help families with all that, because that's sometimes can be challenging. We have, I know that you've often asked about interpreters. We have a number of interpreters at the event, so that if there's any communication language challenges for us, then we have folks there to help us, making sure that the right information goes to our families. But there'll be other things. They've put together book bags full of materials for the youngsters, books that the kids can take. Lots of different tables are set up, informational tables. And of course, there's food. So the kids always appreciate that. I think last year we had pizza. I'm not sure what they have planned. Is that what they have planned this year?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, pizza. I
Can't go
think there was
wrong with
salad. You can't go wrong, right? So great night, just super well attended. And again, I would encourage you, just to let you know that the board usually serves the food and is in the line where all the kids and families come through, which is kind of nice for you to meet all the families. We have an all-staff meeting, that's 2 days. That's part of the collective bargaining agreement. So we have 2 days on August 26th and August 27th, where all of our teachers and our staff come back. Those are required days for teachers. On the 27th, I will do an all-staff meeting at Memorial Field. I've done that over the last couple of years. The weather gods have been with me, and we've had really good weather. And it's just a great event to come together. We started off with a little breakfast snack for everybody. We have several awards. We have the Sergeant Essay Award for one of our elementary students. We also have the Silver Award to a staff member, so that's kind of a neat. Again, Pam will welcome everybody with opening remarks. I have a few thoughts that I'll share with them, and it's just a great night. The part I love the most is when I'm there waiting to start it off, and I can hear the high school band coming down the street and playing, and we also have kids in the chorus. We're trying to work something out with Runlet also to have our middle schoolers there, because I like the mix of our middle and high school kids. But it's I think that you really know school's starting when you hear the band, the marching band coming down the street. Apologize to all the neighbors. We probably wake them up. It is a little early. I did ask Kim today if we could push it back a little bit to make it 8:30, so it's not quite so early. And I appreciate the kids coming out and doing it, because it is one of their last days of school vacation, but they do that for us. So anyway, that's kind of the opening, and Michelle's going to update you on staff. I think that's really important. What's happening with staff? Where are we at with hiring? I think you'll be very pleased where we are, but I'm going to pass that baton to Michelle when she gives her report tonight. I want to bring up a couple of things. I'm going to give you this. Will you take these and pass them down? You asked me, I don't know, back in the spring maybe, about the numbers around restraint and seclusion. And we're required, by the way, every year to provide to the Department of Ed the numbers of restraints and seclusions that we have in all of our schools throughout the year. And that is documented by our principals. I review that document. I have to certify it, all the reports from this district. It's all part of their safety reports. And this is just one element of that report. And so I thought I'd take a minute and just kind of give you, I think the report looks really good. We've done a lot of work around restorative justice. We've done work around helping with strategies for youngsters who may have a challenge that, they need a timeout or time to just collect themselves is probably a better way to say it. And so I think we've seen some really good results of that work and that training. John does all the work around CPI, so people are trained in order to do that, and that's really important. All restraint and seclusion, anytime that is used, there must be a report, and those reports are brought to my office, of which John and I review. We sign off on it, and then they're collected, and Bridget keeps them on file so that there's never any question, but it's a very, very thorough report. Now, you know that you just adopted a new policy, so we have some training that we'll be doing with the subtle changes that were made to that policy. And we'll be doing that. We'll kick that off on Wednesday of this week. Karen and I will do a presentation, and John will do a presentation on restraint and seclusion with our administrators. We have an administrative retreat on Wednesday and Thursday, and that's one of the items. So that's where we'll start, and then we'll work that into all visitations to all of the buildings, because we do training at the beginning of the year, and that will be part of it. I think the numbers speak for themselves. You'll see some significant changes in restraints, which I'm very, very pleased about. And you know, I always get the question about, well, Beaver Meadow, first of all, please understand Beaver Meadow, and they have a 3R classroom, and that's where we work with our youngsters that need a lot of support, and so there are times when they've had in the past had to really, you know, they lost control, and so you don't want them running out of the building, you don't want them hurting themselves, you don't want them hurting others, and so it requires trained people to step in. But you can see there's been a significant change in that at Beaver Meadow. I'm very happy. The one that I sometimes get questions about is Krista McAuliffe, and sometimes people are surprised by that number. Just understand the location of Krista McAuliffe is not conducive to a youngster maybe at like perhaps broken ground where there's a big area that they can run outside. When you run outside at Krista McAuliffe, you're on one of the main thoroughfares, and there is no way that they can take a risk that a youngster would bolt on any one of the three streets that, you know, surround Krista McAuliffe. So you'll see that their numbers are a little bit higher, but even still, you'll see their numbers have dropped. Same with seclusion. We try, I think that at Beaver Meadow, for instance, you'll see a change in less restraint and more giving kids time out. It's really more of a timeout, a safe space, and working with one of their either their paraprofessionals or their teachers. So I think it's a good report. I think I was pleased to see the numbers, and I thought I'd give you a comparison from last year. So I went back in last year's data and pulled it out. So questions?
Ms. Bichette?
I see from 2022 to 2023 to 2023 to 2024, it's significant decrease. Has the students in attendance, have they changed, or is there
Which one?
something different going on
Why
in
did it go
terms
down
of the
so much?
significant decline?
Well, I think
in
it's
restraints?
training. I think we've done a lot of CPI training. They've done a lot of trauma training. I think our teachers are very well equipped in understanding what those things that would, you know, get youngsters, you know, upset. And I think they work really hard to know that. But the restorative justice piece has been fabulous, and they're using it more and more. We intend to do more training. As you know, it's going to be, I would like to have it in full practice at the middle school, which is really our goal for next year. We have some of it, but we're not there yet, right? I know the elementary schools are very interested in it. I just think that, our student body hasn't changed a lot. I think if John were here, John, by the way, is at a workshop, he would have been here tonight. But I think John would tell you that we have some challenging cases. You know that Concord is committed to inclusion, which means our kids stay home in their natural settings, in their natural environment with their peers. So we don't have a lot of youngsters that are out of district placed. We do have some, you know that, you see those numbers. But I think it's training, I think it's over time that we've seen, and understanding how to deal with it. It's not easy. This is not easy work. You know.
Other questions? Mrs. Hastings?
So the back-to-school night on the 20th, I just want to remind people that that is for all families in the district. Even though it's at Keach Park, it's not just for students on the east side, I guess,
Right,
of Concord.
right.
It's for
Point.
all.
It's just a
all
terrific
families.
location.
It
That's why
is.
we go there.
It's got
you
great
know.
parking and space, so, yes.
Yeah. Good point. Thank you.
I had a question that's somewhat related to seclusions. My memory is that we have a policy that says recess is not to be used as a punishment.
That's right.
Are all teachers adequately trained on that, including substitutes? Because I've heard from some kids that they've been required to stay in at recess, particularly with substitute teachers.
Well, that would clearly be an oversight, because that's not to be used as a punishment. I think we've talked a lot about this, kids need to be outside, right?
Yeah.
They need to play, that's not something that is used as a consequence, but, I can't tell you that all substitutes have been trained in that, and so, if you're bringing that up, that's something that I will address with our principals.
Thank you.
Good, thank you.
Can I comment on that? I believe the policy says should not. I think we maybe purposely left that language flexible to give principals the ability to make that call. But I understand the sentiment about maybe making sure everybody is trained. that
Well,
that
it
is
comes under logical
rare.
consequences from responsive classrooms,
Yeah.
so if you misbehave at recess, if you can't handle recess,
Yeah.
then you need to be removed from recess. It shouldn't be like, oh, you were bad in lunch, you can't go out, or
You didn't
get
finish your
homework
work,
done.
finish your
Right.
work. I've heard it in the context if you haven't finished
Yeah,
your work.
yeah, no, that's not right.
So, yeah, no, our policy
the should
does
is
allow
probably
for,
logical.
like, if you're not behaving
Yeah.
at recess to
Yeah.
be
If you-
temporarily removed.
If you recall, the principals really wanted to be able to have that piece, and so that's why the language gave us a little wiggle room in terms of whether a youngster would lose. But to a T, the principals are not fans of it, but they have on occasion had to use that consequence.
Any other
Great
questions for the
questions.
superintendent?
Can I continue?
Yes.
I have a couple more things, and then we'll move on. I just want to bring your attention to the issues around policy and the legislative issues. I think if you saw it, I don't know if you got it, but I got a report, and I don't know if I have it with me. Yeah, I do. I got a report from my association, which was built off the School Board Association, of over 50 pieces of legislation that impact us. And so I'm just trying to alert you to a I'm looking at our chair of our policy committee and the folks on it.
Sharpening my
But-
pencil.
Yes, you are, I know, and I really appreciate that, right? But it is intense, I'm telling you. And on top of that, some of the legislation that is contraire, if you will, to our Title IX, which just came out. So we're working hard upstairs to collect all of this information. Kim and I actually spent some time today on the literacy one, because obviously that's really important, near and dear to us. And so we're working at all fronts to be ready for that, but it is going to be a very intense year for legislation. So I bring that up. Take a peek at it from the School Board Association. You'll see a document. If you don't have it, I have it. What I did was I looked at every single bill and I assigned it to someone. So, for instance, there's one on possession of hypodermic needles. I will meet and we will work with Laura Anderson, your head nurse, to be able to make sure that our policy is right and that everything is in place around that thing, so that particular House bill. So just know it's going to be a heavy lift for you.
And also recognize that there are some very short, unrealistic deadlines in some of these bills, 60 days from passage, and then it was a month and a half before the governor decided to sign or veto. So bills that he signed this week we're supposed to have implemented by September, which may just not be possible for us to change policy that quickly under our rules and charter.
Right. We're most, of course, we want all of our policies up to date. I want to say that very clear. That's really important. That's a primary responsibility that you have as board members, right? But I also know that it becomes an important piece is when we have audits. Now we're going to have another federal audit. We're always going to have audits in Concord because we receive a good chunk of change, right? You all know that. We tend to be, that creates more risk, right? And so they tend to lean towards the Concord, Nashuas, Manchesters to do audits, and they look at policies when they come to do the audits. Ellen's really good at being ready and prepared for when they come in. But I want to be ready for those. I don't want to be dinged on audits by the feds, because we get a good amount of money from the federal government in both competitive as well as entitlements, I don't ever want to jeopardize that.
And I assume that we're going to be, to the best of our ability, educating our teachers on laws that affect them and things they teach. There's some that are really, really vague, unfortunately, that we're going to have to try and figure out, and the teachers are going to have to try and figure out. And I don't know that there's been guidance from the Department of Education
Not yet.
yet on any of these things. But, you know, we want to make sure our teachers are protected and their licenses are protected, because we know they work hard, and some of them I think are, I don't know what books, I guess we can't, you know, we're not going to be sending out warnings when we teach Romeo and Juliet. So there's there's going to be a lot, and whether that's at the beginning of the school year or before they start every new unit, I'm not sure, but
Well, again, we started those discussions, and I totally agree with you. I'm very worried. Our teachers are going to be nervous because there's the parental Bill of Rights, and that requires notification, parental notification, that they are nervous about, and those questions have already surfaced. So we need to be ready to at least know that they're supported. You've done that before. We talked about that. Remember when we had the
Yes.
bill around
just divisive concepts.
divisive concepts? Matthew?
It was me. Good job, Matt.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. That was a good
Break that
distraction.
tension.
You were very clear about your position about supporting your teachers, right? And so I did, I met with the teachers. I went out and sat with the groups of teachers and talked about it, and they asked me questions. And again, we didn't have all the detail, but I wanted them to know that that the district had their backs and that we would work together to
Well,
be able
and
to respond.
as we know now, a federal court has found that unconstitutionally vague,
Right.
that law. But I think to send the same message to our teachers would be good.
I have to be honest with you, there are a lot of vague bills right now, and we'll wait for some technical assistance. We get TAs from the department, and their lawyers and their legal folks provide us with information, but we also get information from our legal opinion, and sometimes they don't agree,
Yep.
so. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. And finally, I thought I'd pass it over to Matt. And I just thought it would be really important. You have a lot of big projects going on right now, HVAC projects. I thought Matt could update you on that and a couple of other issues in the district.
Thanks, Kathleen. It has been a busy summer, and although we're getting close, we're not over yet. We still have a lot of work to do. As Kathleen mentioned, we have the Broken Ground and Beaver Meadow HVAC replacement that consists of replacing every single unit on both schools to dehumidified air. Everything is on schedule. We're still doing a ton of work out there, so if anyone's driving by or looks, you'll see site work, or you'll see cranes putting HVAC equipment on the roof, but that project is going very well. As part of our safety grants, we're upgrading all of our handheld radios to digital radios. Included in that are repeaters, and every school will have its own separate channel to talk very clearly with each other, which is a huge upgrade. At Concord High School, we're working on a speaker upgrade, so we like to affectionately call it as, correct, in the auditorium. It's like a goal post. It's got some very good enhancement stereo features to it, so we're excited to be doing that. It's been a variety of flooring upgrades like we've done every year, as well as painting. CRTC, there's program updates on both automotive and criminal justice. Been working with Ann Fowler on that. Liz and I joked a little bit of the terminology before the meeting started, but the sinkhole repair up at the high school.
I love driving by that thing.
I update
So many memories.
on a weekly basis. That is the Bow Brook infrastructure. So just last week, we had the interior professionally measured. And so those measurements and film have been sent to Novus Engineering. We're going to identify solutions then we present them not just to the city engineer, but also to the
How about a fountain?
DES. How about a fountain?
Just make a fountain.
If the DES would allow that, maybe. But that's ongoing, and that's most likely gonna stretch into the school year as we get those solutions and bring them forward to everyone. We've got some central office upgrades that we're doing just by making more defined cubicle and privacy spaces in the main office. As I said, safety upgrades with different grants, and we could probably cover that at a later time. But then, as always, we do all of our boiler, mechanical equipment, annual services, and PM sprinklers, preventive maintenance, sprinklers and fire alarms. And then there's more too, but I figured that would be a good overview for what we have going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Matt, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Will the work be completed to a point where students will be able to access all areas, classrooms, and playgrounds
Yes.
by the time school starts?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you.
But the dehumidified air at Beaver Meadow will be delayed because we're waiting for a transformer?
We're waiting for a transformer and other components, but we are working very, very closely and diligently with Unitil, who would be providing the transformer, so more to follow. We did put in some infrastructure, getting it ready to take on the new transformer.
Thanks,
All
Matt.
right. And is there anything other than we have a joint meeting with the board and the middle school building committee on August 12th, where Amy Clark from the Department of Education will be coming to present on finalized building aid rules. You have anything other than that?
Well, I think that you've instructed the architects to take a look at a couple of items, and one was they want to share with you how they reduce that square footage. Remember, there was a 6,000 square footage reduction. They also want to be able to show you some some ideas around the auditorium, flexibility of that auditorium, and so they'll have that. They've been working on that. They have a couple of really neat looking staircases up in the as you enter into the building in the main lobby. So they wanted to show you that and how they've moved it around a little bit. So I think they just want to show you some of the things that they've been doing. They've been pretty busy. They've met with everybody. They've been meeting with all engineers, landscape engineers, electrical engineers, all of the folks that have components in the building project. So that's become a regular meeting schedule for them. And as you know, so you know, that every Thursday at 10 o'clock, we meet with them. So we have a standing meeting, and we get updated on all their progress.
Thank you. Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Community Operations Maintenance Facility.
Sure.
Or the COMP,
That's right.
which is not, I'm not sure is an acronym we really need,
No,
but.
I was gonna say. Too many things flowing through my mind.
I just wanna say comfy.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Do you want to, while it loads, just give us what we're talking about?
Yeah. And if it don't, I'll reset and then come back. So the COMP, which is the Common Operations Maintenance Facility, that's owned by the city but used on the western end by the school district for its busing. Busing used to be over by Morrill Radiator, which is off Pembroke Road. You see that Quonset hut? That's where it used to be years ago, and then it moved up there. So it did. I'll reset the computer. Maybe it's still on vacation. Yeah. And what over several years there's been talk about ultimately, because this building's going to be almost 30 years old, of doing something. They need to do some improvements on their side. We need some improvements on our side, as I mentioned to you about the busing, parking up there. They share bathrooms right now because the bathrooms are in the center of the building. and maybe some additional space. So what this 35,000 would do is we would be a part of that scope and have a piece of figuring out what we need to do. We know parking is definitely an issue. The other component that we'll be looking at with this is the electric buses, because we walked all that about 2 Mondays ago. But that would be a part of this as we look at the parking, because if I can get that screen up, I want to show you, there's one area where they park their signs and we're parking buses around it, but that's ideally where we want to put the charging stations, so we just need to work all that, and they have to work some things on their internal. But that's what the purpose of the 35,000 is, to be part of that.
So I guess one of the conversations we had when we talked at executive committee about putting this on the agenda is, we pay rent for that facility, and then we get these special project bills. And, and sort of how does that work? And, why isn't a master, this plan included in the rent? And, if we're going to invest in this, is there a guarantee that we're going to get a safer place for our buses, that we're not losing useful life because of the salt? And I also had heard that, during COVID, they didn't want our bus drivers using the bathrooms in the facility. And so, if we're gonna pay rent, are we going to have the use and what we need from the facility as well?
As I said, the first thing in there is the utilization of that.
Yeah.
And that'll come back to you to decide what do you want to pay to improve that site.
Yeah.
If anything, you may come back and say, you know what, they're good enough. So, but we'll at least be able to have an idea of, okay, what is utilization, what can we do, and what is the cost to go and do that? Because one of the things, now that the screen is up, is you can see, this is their parking here. This is about 2,700 yards of parking. And back here, this is just for our buses, is about 6,100 yards roughly. But these sheds, all this here is all the cities. That's the salt shed right there, back here. And we use probably right above that little dormer, we use that side. All the rest of that is the city. So it's this area that they'll be looking at, this side, see if they can put some parking in here. Remember I mentioned, I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. This is where they store all their signage right now. And you can see we park along there. Obviously you could get more buses in there if we could work together to try to move that. But that would be all part of that scope to make sure that it makes sense. The transformer that comes in that we have to run for the electric is right here, and it has to be ran to there. That's our initial thought, but this scope will help determine, is there a better utilization?
And are we paying 50% of the cost of this, or a different percentage?
No, it's a smaller amount than what they're dealing with.
One other question, I guess, and I understand that we are making some progress on this, but we had been asking for a while and hadn't been successful in getting the city to meet its commitment to present the Memorial Field plan to the school board that we helped pay for. Do you want to report on progress on that, Superintendent?
Yeah,
or-
I'd be happy to. Actually, I had a conversation with Dave Gill regarding that matter, and yet there have been delays, and he was very apologetic. But people are out on vacations, and it just got it's one of those things. It got waylaid. But we have a meeting on Tuesday with the city, and that will include Matt and Jack and myself, along with the principal Herbert and the new athletic director, Steve Largy, and we'll meet with Dave Gill and the architects and the folks that did the work over there, the engineers also, with all the results of the testing that they did. We'll review all of that. As you know, there were 3 proposals, so to speak, do the whole thing, do everything, do nothing, or do partial, do it in phases, if you will. And so that decision, I think, is one of the things that we all have to, kind of wrap our arms around. What do you want to do? It'll all, of course, it will be based on money. But they, what was promised after we had the 2 hearings was to come to this board with the presentation about what was proposed on the 3 phases. Do nothing is easy, but the other 2. So they will do that. And I will have a date after Tuesday's meeting, because that's the item on the agenda, to have
Thank
a
you.
date for you. So.
And I just, as we look at this if we approve it, that we make sure we have commitments for keeping us up to date as well.
Yep.
Other questions, Ms. Hastings?
I guess I'd like to know what percentage of the total project this $35,000 would be. My understanding is that you pay a pretty significant monthly rent to the tune of $7,000 a month.
We pay $75,000 for the year,
for the year.
and then we pay a portion. We pay 0.25% of the 20-year bond on the fuel farm. So originally, Merrimack Valley used to get their fuel from there, and then when they needed to do these improvements, they asked us, Merrimack Valley, and the city, and Merrimack Valley chose to go to the state, and we chose to stay where we are, which I think works out jointly for both of us because we get better pricing on the fuel.
And I can see the benefits
Yeah.
to it, but as Ms. Walsh alluded, we do pay a significant monthly rent and maybe master plan for how to fund these kind of improvements. Would be a good thing for them to have.
We can get you that.
Okay.
Okay? You're welcome.
Anything else? Is there a motion that you need from us at this point, Jack?
If you want to approve it.
I don't, or are you gonna bring it to us in the future? Is that do we have a contract for it at this point, or?
No, they were looking for donate their commitment, get the commitment from city council, and then we'll come back to you.
Oh, okay.
So when the city council votes?
I believe the
come
city
on.
council is addressing this issue next week,
Yep.
next Monday. Am I right? Yeah,
Yep.
next Monday, so.
I know a letter went to them saying
Yeah.
that we were looking to be
Yeah.
part of that donation to help
Right.
offset some of the costs for this.
So, do we need a motion tonight, is my question?
Now, I'm asking for approval to spend those
Do you have a
funds.
sample motion?
I don't,
Okay.
sorry.
Would anybody like to make a motion to approve up to $35,000 for a joint plan for the operations maintenance facility for Concord?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second. Mr. Cotton.
Second by Mr. Cotton. Is there further discussion?
I'm just confused on what we're approving right now. Are we approving the expenditure of up to $35,000 for this specific project, or are we approving a motion to just engage in conversation about building out a plan for what the scope of this project will be?
Well, that you would be interested in donating $35,000 to the city for our portion of that building.
Master plan, for a
Yep,
master
correct,
plan for
correct.
that facility.
Yep,
Okay.
We do not know what the master plan, this is
that's why I'm saying
This is
you
to
would.
create
to
it.
create
This
a
is
master
create a
plan.
And this is,
And this buys our participation.
And I would vote no until I know what that percentage of the
Okay.
35,000 is.
And, okay.
Are there other questions, discussions, concerns?
I'd love to know what the final total is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know their scope is gonna be a lot different than our scope.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we use a much more portion, but we can get you that.
Would folks like to go forward? Would they like to table this until we get additional information from the city?
I have a question.
Yes, Robinson?
If we fail to pass a motion to commit, does that sideline the ability for this project to move forward, like the exploration portion? Or would we be holding up progress?
Potentially, it'll depend on whether they move forward without us or not.
Okay.
And they might wanna say, well, let's wait to see what the school district is, and just the time moves on.
Toss
Yeah,
it back and
yeah.
forth?
I mean, this is something
Yeah.
that's been a couple of years that there's been discussion, we knowing that this was coming up, but,
Okay.
you know, this is the first time you as a board is hearing it.
Well, how do you feel about it?
Oh, I think it's the right thing to do. I think there was a lot of forethought when they built that building. As much as people might have a negative connotation about that building, who may have been around a while, there was a lot of foresight in creating that building to be a joint facility, walking it. But it's tight. I mean, the city has grown a little bit, and there's a lot of infrastructure needs, and as you can see, our buses, we got 26 big buses, 12 small buses, now we're talking about adding electric to it. And obviously, we need to issue our POs by November and wrap this thing up by May of '26, I believe. So that's part of what I'm thinking in my mind as well.
so, Mr. Dunn, a question. We are considering contributing $35,000 to the creation of a master plan for this facility, correct?
For our portion of that facility. Because remember, your lease is I think it's a 10 with an option for 10. Because we decided, I don't think you're gonna look at building your own bus terminal. I don't think we're looking at outsourcing busing. We've seen how that went during COVID. And this just makes it's a small investment considering what probably the fiscal cost would be to design your own and build your own.
So this is $35,000 to create a plan for our section of this building and the property? And does the city have to approve what we decide to do for our section? And do we have to approve what they do for the remaining
I guess
section?
similar to you being a landlord, yes. But that'll help, come up with the ideas and we'll work together to try to formulate what should be that scope.
And for what duration? What is this master plan looking forward to? Is this a master plan for the next 10 years, the next 5 years? the
20.
Next 20 years? Okay.
Ms. Hastings?
Where would this 35,000 come from?
It would come from one of the transportation lines.
A trust fund
No, in the general fund.
in the general fund?
Yeah,
And we have that?
yes. Yeah, I won't be looking for an increased appropriation.
In that case,
Yeah.
that makes me feel a little bit better, yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Good question asking.
Yes. Anything else?
So there's a motion.
Motion, and it's been seconded, right?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Dunn, you'll be updating us on a monthly basis on this, correct? Thank you.
We're now open for public comment. Please sign in, state your name. Could you speak into the microphone, please?
My name is Bert Cooper. I live in the south end of Norwich Street, and just you don't feel obliged to answer any of these questions. They are rhetorical questions, but as we're approaching our tally on our signatures for our charter amendment, the public might want some answers to these. I think the school board is in a very good place right now. Since the state building aid application is for the Runlet site, the dimensions of the building design appear to fit the Runlet site as well. And the superintendent has stated on the record that Runlet is one of the two best sites for the school along Clinton Street. Hopefully you'll keep your options open and not deprive the public by trying to prevent construction at Runlet if you lose the public vote. Second, I'll try and be quick. When the discussion of moving to Runlet moving to Broken Ground was raised, you talked about chopping down 8 acres of forest. You're up to 23 acres now, clearing for the school and the fields. Have you considered the message that you're sending to your current and future students? Have you read any of the state or climate policies that your application refers to? Have you also considered the impact of trying to evacuate 1,500 students in the event of a forest fire or the like on those roads? You're planning to move away from a quarter of your students at Runlet. I got that by 850 students minus the 650 students eligible for taking the bus. Which is significantly more than it's been previously reported. What percentage of students on the north side of 393 get free and reduced lunch compared to the Runlet area? Because those students on the north side are in the most affluent census tract in Concord. Why wasn't a new traffic study done as recommended by your traffic consultants in the spring of 2023 before choosing a new location? The study with actual vehicle, pedestrian, and bicycle counts, like they did at Oyster River. Almost done. Why aren't traffic studies and updated student population distribution key pieces of prerequisite info in citing a school? You spend significant time and money making a school safe from school shootings, but there's at least an 80 to 100 times higher risk of students getting killed or injured by cars on their way to and from school. Why is this an afterthought? I would have thought that would have been the most very important. And we still never gotten a good answer as to why the superintendent claimed that Clinton Street and Broken and Runlet were the two best sites. And likewise, the explanation of why equity was not an issue when when you were looking at Clinton Street. Many of you voted for that, but yet when you move to equity is suddenly an issue when it's at broken ground. So there are a lot of questions that haven't really been answered. So I think the public is going to be interested in getting answers as we move towards that election. I'd also like to say that I appreciate the efforts you put into it. Digging down into data is something that I enjoy doing. There's data out there, but there's a lot of data missing that if I were on the school board, I would want to have that before I make critical decisions. And I'd still want that data, even if I was building at broken ground. I'd want that traffic data. I'd want to know how much of my infrastructure for protecting the students getting to and from school. And if you talk about wanting students to be able to walk to school at broken ground, how much is that going to cost, right? Because it's not fair to say you want to allow those people to walk there if you're not giving them the ability to do that. Likewise, student populations, when you have student populations decreasing faster on the east side than on the west side compared to your student population report, why didn't you go update it before you made crucial decisions? We're talking $150 million. We can spend a little money on population studies. We can spend a little money on traffic studies. Your consultants recommended you do that, and you didn't do that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to testify? Please sign in.
Hello, my name is Stacy Brown. I live just about a block away in Ward 5. And I don't know if anyone is going, but National Night Out is tomorrow. It's great. It's from 5 to 8. It's where everyone can come and kind of congregate. It's a celebration of safety. And it's in Rollins Park, which is such a great walkable area. I'm just here because data is important to me. I like to base my decisions on data. And when looking through the website that you have on the middle school project, the Safe Routes to School map is fantastic, but it's from 2013. And within that report, these were recommendations. They show maps of where the students live to help get an idea of where the sidewalks need to be. So I know Terry Crotty has a new system where he can map out all students' locations. So it would be fantastic to have that map. I'm on a Transportation Policy Advisory Committee, and I would love to alleviate the transportation problems that you have by doing bike trains or bike buses and coordinating with parents and students in the areas where we have a lot of kids and parents that want a bike. So let's work together to solve that mutual problem. Also on that website, I noticed that in December of 2022, there's an RFQ for an architect. And it says within that request for qualifications that the probable site is Runlet. It doesn't say Runlet and Broken Ground, it just says Runlet. And that's in December of 2022, and then all of a sudden, the only reports we see are like July of 2023. But I know that there are Nobis site maps from April 2023 that are not on the website. So just for people who are trying to understand your thought process, you know, in December of 2022, you're looking for architects and it says Runlet is the site. You've ruled out Clinton Street. How did it all of a sudden go to broken ground? Where is that discussion? So that would be really interesting. And, you know, I was out biking on the east side, looking at Portsmouth Street, looking at all of the signs that are out there. And Portsmouth Street is really busy. And I'm wondering if the traffic study from when Millbrook was built is available. So we can see how has traffic changed
because neighborhood schools were shut down and a school was added to Millbrook. I talked to a grandmother at Royal Gardens who said that it was outrageous that her granddaughter was expected to walk from Royal Gardens to Millbrook. So it'd be really interesting to look back at the old traffic study and to see how have things changed. Is it better or worse than predicted? So if you could please update some of that information, that would be really helpful for those of us that rely on that data. And I'm really looking forward to working together so that we can all focus on sustainability and not have more buses and more gas and carbon emissions, because we know that transportation emissions contribute to 50% of the emissions in Concord, and we really need to cut that. We need to do that together. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to testify? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. I think we have personnel next on our agenda. Ms. Guerin?
Good evening. Before we go to the agenda items, I'd like to just do a quick update on our staffing needs right now. We do have one teaching position open for automotive at the CRTC. We do have a few administrative assistants in our facilities department. We do still need a facilities manager, a maintenance worker, and a custodian, so we're doing pretty good in the facilities department. We have a handful of tutors, and we still need bus drivers, substitute teachers, and substitute nurses. Always need more of those. We are looking for a few food service workers and a cook at Runlet. And depending on where we are with the leave of absence request, we will need a teaching position at the high school. And educational assistance is our biggest need right now. We do need a number of educational assistants. Looking to the
Thank
agenda. The first is the leave of absence request, which is in the pink envelopes.
We're not doing this in non-public?
We're not talking about it, we're just gonna
If you
approve
have
it.
questions, we can do it, we can take it to non-public. If board members don't have questions, we have to
Yeah,
vote on it
right.
in public.
Gotcha.
I move approval.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same
Moved by
thing.
Mr. Cotton, second by
Second.
Ms. Higgins.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
people comfortable going forward?
Sorry, who made the motion?
Mr. Cotton,
I did.
seconded by Ms. Higgins. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Fall coaches.
But we do have some CEA
Teacher
confirmations.
confirmations, I'm sorry.
So we do have 4 teachers come forward to this evening. We have a special education teacher at Runlet Middle School, Erin Kelly. We have a broken ground digital learning specialist, Carol Lewis. A special education teacher at Krista McCullough, Ellen Daly. And a school counselor at Krista McCullough, Kayla Sacca.
A motion? Is there a motion to approve the teacher confirmations?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Campbell. Is there discussion?
I just have a question. All of these positions are appearing significantly over the qualifications we normally hire at, and I'm wondering what the reasoning is. Was it a lack of other
Well,
candidates?
if you look at the budgeted positions, there's been a lot of movement between different schools. So you're looking at the original budgeted position, but some people are taking their salaries with them, so we're looking, but to be.
I'm looking more at experience and education too. They're
Yep.
significantly higher than what we.
The digital learning specialist has been a difficult to fill position. And the special education is more a difficult position to fill.
That's a master's plus 30,
Correct.
step 8.
Yep.
So we try
That's
to
a lot
do,
of
we
educational
try to do,
knowledge.
yeah, we try to do a master's step 5. That's kind of our target, but, you know, it gets more and more difficult to find good people. These are critical positions, I think you can see that, and so we're willing to, you know, move above that M5. But we also have to, we look at what was in the budget too, so that we make sure that we're close to the budget, and I think you can see we're not too far off, with the exception of the digital learning specialist. Do you see that in the detail?
I do.
Okay.
I only see one that's a cut, I guess. The rest are all increases.
We have been fortunate earlier in the hiring season to be able to pull in some,
And offhand, do you know what this does to our staffing budget?
the overall comparison, no. I could get that number, but no, I don't have that tonight.
I'll have that for you in September, because right now the teachers haven't been stepped up, and then we've stepped them up, I think about 2 or 3 weeks prior. And then once they do that, my little report that I do will show what the ins and outs are. And we want that number typically to be around 300,000 to 400,000. That gives us a rough idea. That's what the teacher line should be, just on that one. So,
300,000 to 400,000 compared to step up, okay.
yeah, once you step up and everything, your ins and outs should be that, and that's what we don't touch. Because obviously, when we set the budget in, you know, we set it in March, but we prep it all in January. We don't know
So
what's gonna come.
some of these positions may be equivalent to the step the other person would have gone to, is what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah, like
was,
the person at Broken Ground that went to another location,
Yeah.
that salary's already there.
Yeah.
But she might have replaced somebody that was maybe lower.
You know, I think
Right.
it speaks highly of the district that we have people who have such long experience.
I was
who
gonna
wanna
ask
come-
for clarification.
come
Is our
here.
concern about qualifications strictly a financial one?
Yeah.
It is, because we've always had a policy of being careful about too much experience because it's so expensive. And I know our special education budget was significantly over last year.
Although that was transportation and out of
And
district
contracted
place,
services.
but these are not contracted
but-
services, these are staff, so
They would
we're-
hopefully alleviate the need for
That's-
some of
I
that
hope so.
contracted services,
Right.
yeah.
But I know the high school asked last year for an M14 and we're not able to get that. So I just wanna make sure we're being consistent if we're saying that we have a cutoff, that unless there's no other qualified people, that we're trying to stick to that. Just trying to be fiscally responsible.
Yes,
No,
we
that's
appreciate
good.
it.
I hear you.
And we should make sure that the people bringing in such experience are performing at the level that one would expect of that experience as well.
I agree.
Any further discussion?
Sometimes it's such a backwards thought process.
A little
You
bit,
want
yeah.
really qualified people, and someone works hard and gets educated, and we're so sorry you're too good. You know,
Well,
it's just funny.
It's
That's
a,
how it's been.
it's,
Oh, I know, but it just never stops.
yes.
Right.
Well, and I think we are lucky that we tend to have more experienced teachers and hire teachers with more experience than a lot of school districts are able to do.
And it's a new world.
Yep.
And we have to do that now. They didn't have to do it in the past, but now we do.
There's worse things in the world than teachers recognizing their value.
Yeah, exactly. We get to have such qualified people, it's wonderful.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Fall coach nomination.
And we do have one fall coach nomination for girls cross country coach Christopher Bayer.
Chris Byer, I'll move that we accept it and add that I was his coach when he won the New England Championships in cross country, one of 5 boys in all of Concord High School history to win the boys New England title. Not that this matters, but he's wonderful. He got a standing ovation, his dad cried, it was a wonderful day.
That sounds
Yeah.
lovely.
No,
I
he'll
will
be great.
second that
Yeah.
part, yeah.
He'll be good.
Is there further discussion?
Is there anything else to say?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Enrollment reports.
I did second that.
Did I ask any opposed? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay.
That's all I have to say.
We're good.
So, this is kind of, we're in August and, we still have coming and goings, right? So, I think, we look at the registrations, and see what's in there, and that's really what we base it on. We still aren't sure about who's left, quite frankly, because until we get a request for records, they're ours, right? But we may not get that until another school district is back in session and their administration sends us a request. Sometimes it's great, the parents let us know, and that's really helpful when they do that, because that really helps me. We do have special exceptions. Parents are asking if they can, attend a school out of their district for a variety of reasons, trust me. There are a variety of reasons, and so we try as hard as we can to accommodate, but I can't accommodate and take a seat out of somebody who lives in the Beaver Meadow ground because somebody wants to be there, right? I can't do that, so in some cases, we've had to deny that, but we're still in the process of doing that. So I want you to know, these numbers, I would consider soft, if you're looking at it. But I want you to know one thing. I have made a change at Beaver Meadow because of the numbers. Remember now, one of the positions at Beaver Meadow in grade 1 this year, you cut in your budget. Do you remember that? Early on, you cut that position. But I only had 2 in grade kindergarten because they only had they had like in the 30s last year. So I only had 2, but lo and behold, Murphy's Law played out, and we now need another teacher because of the numbers. You can see them. I couldn't do just 2 because that would have been 20-something kindergarten youngsters, right? Can't
That
do
would be fun.
Yeah. And so I went to 3, and I used the contingency money that's you have allotted in the budget for me to use for that purpose, and I did.
Great.
And so that was taken care of. Other than that,
Pretty big drop in the Krista McCullough kindergarten class from 70 last year to 40
yeah,
this year.
it's so
And
hard to
Abbott Downing
try
too.
to- yeah, and we took a position away. So that we're trying to look at those numbers and but again, it's August. It's August.
Can I ask you a question, Kathleen, specifically about CRTC numbers? This 718, is that reflective of the number that we came to after we had to tell kiddos that we didn't have spaces? Because I remember us having that conversation of turning down like 250 kiddos who wanted to be a part of that program. So
Remember, those are the 2 sessions. Those are session 1 and session 2.
Yep.
So you got to remember your high numbers are in the first session. Those are year 1 students, right?
Right.
And then the second is the year 2, which is really almost in half in terms of the numbers that we can take.
yeah.
Huge demand, Sarah, for this career and technical. Very, very popular.
But I
Yeah.
think your question is our capacity is 750.
Yeah, so is this 718 number, if we could have accepted those 250 kiddos, this would have been a much bigger number.
Oh, absolutely, and we could not have accommodated them. We don't have the staff
Yeah, or the space.
or the space.
Yeah. I see like we have some decreasing numbers in certain areas of young kiddos, but we also have increasing numbers in other areas. And so I just see a need for us to have some planning around how to accommodate those 250 kids who probably would stick around for that second session.
Right.
But we're not giving them the opportunity when
Correct.
they're ready to roll.
Right.
And I know that the district has thrown around some ideas about how to help CRTC grow. It is self-sustaining, so I hope that we can revisit what potential plans our district might have for expanding access. We have a huge desire from these kiddos. I know they requested a welding program. We want to be able to give many paths up the mountain, and CRTC is the most effective way to give a more diverse group of kiddos an option to success. So I just hope we keep revisiting this.
Right, and we do have a number of sending schools. What does that mean, right?
Right.
Right, we have 9 districts that are sending to us, so does that mean we've got too many? Is that, you have to look at all aspects of it. I know that Ann has a plan. I've asked her to develop a strategic plan so that she can present it to you, so we know what to do, but ultimately, we'd love more space so that we can have the programs that you described, one of them being welding, another one being the computer
Cybersecurity.
cybersecurity, right?
And
And-
network.
Oh my God, that would be
and-
brilliant.
Right, and those are two of the programs that they really would like to incorporate. But there's a huge demand in the medical program, that the educational program is soaring. So, you know, we don't wanna dismiss that, but we have to figure out how to address it all.
Well, and it defies declining enrollments. So overall, enrollment numbers appear to be declining, but the demand for those programs is increasing. So it just illustrates a shift in what kids are looking for and families are looking for in education.
Yeah.
So we have to be ready, because I don't think these numbers will go down.
I don't think
more
so
and more
either.
kids are gonna choose
Yeah, yeah.
the vocational path.
They've only gone up.
Yeah.
since
And I
I've
think
been
there
here.
is a shift in culture now where,
Exactly.
you know, four-year college is not perfect for everyone, and why can't we encourage kiddos to explore their passion and skill sets in different ways? And I think we already do a great job of that, but I'm hoping that over the course of the next school year, we can really start to explore, and I hope Ann Fowler will be able to produce that strategic plan sooner rather than later, so that we can have some serious conversations about what she thinks the best path is. Is it a standalone school? Is it something like similar to what MST is in Manchester, which is an amazing program? It works in tandem with the community college. It really does accommodate a lot of kiddos. And there's, 29 different programs across the state for CTE. I mean, we have to serve a large swath of students just based on geography. I feel like that would be really advantageous for the district, our own community, and surrounding communities to really start to explore that.
In
I
the,
totally agree, and you know, we have been in discussions with NHTI. As you recall, NHTI had a student enrollment of almost 5,000 students, and currently they're at about 2,500. So they have a number of space available. I mean, think about it, it's just across the way, right, for us to access that. And so we have been talking with the president and folks over there about could we actually put programs right on the site there?
It's an
So the
interesting
other thing,
idea.
Mr. Richards?
Sarah, I just wanted to bring out is that
well, now he's
it's
gone.
not just people who, that are in CRTC that are looking for an alternate pathway. Increasingly, the CRTC is including kids and carrying kids that are going on to a four-year
Yeah,
education.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
Health it's not called health anymore.
cybersecurity is a
but
great
medical.
example
Yeah.
of one where the kids are really getting a good foundation in CRTC, along with their Concord High School classes, and taking it on to whatever they pursue afterwards.
Yeah, good call, Jim. Thanks for mentioning it. Yeah.
I will say, in terms of our middle school, I've been much more supportive of what the community wants. But in 1993, when we were thinking, do we remodel Concord High School or do we build a new one? And we built on that teeny tiny piece of land because that's what the community wanted. And now we're suffering a huge lack of space. So in looking at, had we built a high school, near broken ground where it could have been put, 30, 40 years ago, we would have a lot more space for a growing vocational center. So I just put that in because isn't life a paradox sometimes?
I agree.
So, yeah, we do have to take really think long and hard about where we can grow that program in our district. Physically grow it, like
Yeah,
where,
yeah, absolutely.
I just think it's funny.
Thank you for entertaining my question. I appreciate it.
Okay, any other discussion? We had talked about some goal setting for the coming year, for the administration, for us as a board. The executive committee had looked at a date to propose, but I don't see it on the calendar. I think we were thinking the 29th in the evening, so just
Of August?
the 27th or the 29th of August, yep.
You tell me, I'll be there.
Yeah, I'm good too.
Either work for everybody?
Yeah.
Well, why don't we
Yeah.
say the 29th for those who have children who might have first day school jitters?
We got
Oh,
him.
yeah.
And we'll aim for 5:30 to 7:30.
Okay.
Sort of more casual.
So 5:30 on the 29th.
Yep.
Okay.
What are we calling that? Just
Goal
board-
setting.
Goal setting, okay.
Check in.
Love it.
And that brings us to the calendars, I think. Or wait, is there any other business under other business?
Not for me.
Okay. Proposed calendars.
It's busy.
Yeah.
So.
What's new?
We
I
enjoyed
think-
July.
Yeah.
Actually, no, August.
Yeah, I put an administrative retreat, that'll be in for a couple of days. Next week, you have your meeting on the 12th, which we talked about. Amy Clark will be here, and it'll be a joint meeting with your building committee, so there'll be lots of good, robust discussion. Following week, you have executive committee, city and community. I thought we should get together and Sarah and talk about the multicultural
Yeah.
event over
Yep.
at the park.
It's happening next month.
Right, then we have back to school night, we have our orientations, but, on the 21st, joint, policy and finance, and it's really focused on the 300 series. I know we sent those out, I might send them out again, and just start to work our way through those. It's a lot, there's some that don't need much, and there are others that are a little bit more complex.
We also just prior thought that we could try and reschedule the communications and instructional meeting on class sizes that got changed
Yeah, we need to
to
do
the
that.
14th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would work.
So that's
Yeah.
communication policy and
The
one that we
instructional and
missed.
communications chair said they could do it, so if that works for others,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
What
Okay.
time? 5:30?
Yeah.
just
I
regular
won't be here,
committee
but-
time.
I won't be here as well,
I won't be here, but
I'm sure it's not.
that's communications and policy.
And
I'm
the-
communications.
Oh, no.
No, she's instructional.
Instructional.
On
Okay.
both, so it will end up being fine.
Okay.
The
And I-
focus is class size.
Yeah.
We wanted to talk about that, so, apologize for that falling apart last week. Anyway.
Glad you're okay.
Let's see, then the last week in August, teacher workshops we talked about, we'll have an instructional committee meeting, regular one. I love the new Blue Dukes night. Millbrook has a meet and greet for the little ones, and a finance committee at 5:30. That's a long weekend, Labor Day.
Most of the elementary schools do a meet and greet for the kindergartners on the
Yeah,
night
they
before
do, the
school
night
start,
before.
or the afternoon before
Yeah.
school starts.
Katie must have sent that in to Bridget. Long weekend for Labor Day, our kids have Friday off and Monday to celebrate Labor Day, and back in it on the 3rd. We have a school board information session on the 6th, which is your way of providing the community an opportunity to ask questions about the board and the board's work and what you do, and for those who may be interested in running for the board. And then filing for the elections on the 6th.
And what date does that end? That's not on the
On the-
calendar.
Yeah, it is.
16th.
Yeah, it is.
It is, oh, I'm
16th.
sorry, thank you.
And then, school board meeting on the 9th, open house. We put in all the open houses. You asked us to do that, so you'll see them
Yeah, that's
scattered
helpful.
through the whole, and so if you wanna attend some of them, that's available. Building committee on the 12th. And the following week, finance, election filing closes on the 16th. The 18th is communication and policy. We're gonna see that a lot. And the following week, executive committee and instructional and city and community, so. I hope you'll join us on the 26th for the chamber meeting. We'll be presenting the state of the city schools. We did it last year, it was lots of fun. And so,
Register for that.
yeah, and so if you're interested in it, just let us know and Bridget will register you. I think she did that last year for those of you that went. So, we'll kind of put together a presentation and, President Walsh will help us, and Jack and I will present to the chamber. It's a fun morning.
I love that.
People were really very gracious.
We're not in October yet, but my annual reminder that we should be respectful of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, which are both in October this year. And that includes, and this is something I've heard from a couple of students, where while it is an excused day for them if they're participating, for religious celebrations, that message doesn't always get down to the classroom in terms of, oh, so you're missing a test. It's not, that teachers should be thoughtful about what they're scheduling on those days as well. And I know we don't control all aspects of the sports schedule or things like that, but to the extent that we can be thoughtful about that, down to not making students feel bad that they're missing things because of their religious beliefs.
Can I build off of that,
Yes,
Pam, and
please.
say that Rosh Hashanah, or not Rosh Hashanah, I apologize, Ramadan
is
is,
that?
it's usually during in the winter time. But just to, since we're talking about accommodating religious celebrations, just making sure that educators are preparing themselves for when kiddos are going to be fasting, if that's what they choose to do, and to accommodate their needs in the classroom at that time. They're allowed to have water during the day, I think, at the very least if they're a student. But just I know we had some issues in the recent past with accommodating kiddos who were practicing and needed a place to pray in school or do different religious elements of things where their needs weren't 100% met. And I know that probably there's a whole host of reasons why that would happen. But if we could have educators starting to think about that now so that it doesn't sneak up on us once the holidays start to hit, it would be really helpful to the student body and to their families, I think.
I would add to that. Normally, this is just our older kids, but I know in some of the elementary schools, 5th grade, some kids choose to start to participate at least some of the days. And in the high school, they don't have to go to the cafeteria.
Right.
But we don't seem to have a good alternative in the elementary schools. They either go to the cafeteria or they sit on the bench outside the cafeteria. And that doesn't seem, it should be their choice, but I feel like there should be a better place for them to wait or be during that time period than sitting out in the hallway looking like they're in trouble.
And I believe Ramadan is March this year.
Is it? Okay, great.
mostly the
It's a
month of
little ways
March.
ahead of us, but even still,
No,
since we're getting
Ramadan
into the
moves around.
school year and we're assessing where we're at, and thank you for clarifying on that.
I have another date for us. On September 13th is Movie in the Park. It's the kickoff of Welcoming Week for the Multicultural Festival. So in that evening, we're down to 2 movies. I'll let you guys know but if you guys want to stop by, be there, it's wonderful.
What is it called?
Movie in the Park.
Movie.
Yep, it'll be at Keach.
Keach?
Yep.
I would love to, but hockey season starts next Sunday, so.
Bye, Pam.
So I'm here or at a rink.
Yeah,
Not staying
exactly.
Until March.
This is a silly favor.
Yep.
But can the blue and green on our calendars be lighter so that we can take notes and actually see them?
Inside the,
But I do like the blue and green, just make them white.
Like a pastel.
A mauve blush.
You don't have a white pen?
I'm trying.
Matches your shirt, I don't know why. Color coordinating.
I understand we have the need for a non-public session.
Yes, please.
Under RSA 91, I'm going to move that we enter non-public session under RSA 91A3 personnel. This was a roll, I need a second.
Well, I was just gonna say, do you want to have a second public?
Oh, I thought we did.
I don't think.
Does
we
anyone
did.
else have any other public comment? No? Okay. I'll move that we enter non-public session under RSA A13, Section C, personnel.
Second.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Richards. I'm on autopilot. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote.
Ms. Boucher?
Yes.
Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cotton?
Yes.
Ms. Hastings? Yeah. Ms. Higgins?
Yeah.
Mr. Richards?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes.
Ms. Walsh?
Yes.
And I am a yes.
Thank you very much. We will be going off the air and we will just be coming back to adjourn so that we don't expect to have any more public business this evening.
I'll take a leave of absence.